rise of the Tudor dynasty. What year marks the beginning of the Middle English period 1066? Who led the Norman Conquest? William the Conqueror. Which battle was fought in 1066? Battle of Hastings. What language became prominent in England after the Norman Conquest? Anglo-Norman French. Which dialect influenced modern English? East Midland. Who is known as the father of English poetry? Geoffrey Chaucer. What is Geoffrey Chaucer's most famous work? The Canterbury Tales. In which century was the Canterbury Tales written? 14th century. Who wrote Piers Plowman? William Langland. What is the literary form of Piers Plowman? Allegory. Who is the central character in Piers Plowman? Will. What language was spoken by the ruling class in England after 1066? French. Which language coexisted with French in the Middle Ages? Latin. What language replaced Old English during this period? Middle English. Which poet wrote Sir Gawain and the Green Knight? Anonymous. What is the genre of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight? Arthurian romance. Who was the first English printer? William Caxton. Which language heavily influenced Middle English vocabulary? French. What is the earliest surviving Middle English poem? The Owl and the Nightingale. Which king commissioned the Domesday Book? William the Conqueror. When was the Domesday Book compiled? 1086. What event ended the Middle English period? The rise of the Tudor dynasty. Which war occurred between 1337 and 1453? The 100 Years' War. Who introduced the first movable type printing press to England? William Caxton. What year did William Caxton introduce the printing press to England? 1476. What is a key feature of Middle English poetry? Alliteration. Who wrote Le Morte d'Arthur? Sir Thomas Malory. What does Le Morte d'Arthur deal with? The legend of King Arthur. What is the term for rhymed couplets of iambic pentameter? Heroic couplets. What was the dominant religion in England during the Middle Ages? Christianity. Who wrote The Vision of Piers Plowman? William Langland. What major historical event took place in 1381? The Peasants' Revolt. Who was the leader of the Peasants' Revolt? Wat Tyler. What document was signed in 1215? Magna Carta. Who was responsible for signing the Magna Carta? King John. Which English king led the Third Crusade? Richard the Lionheart. What was the plague that struck England in the 14th century? The Black Death. What year did the Black Death strike England? 1348. What impact did the Black Death have on English literature? Themes of death and morality became prevalent. What is the title of the first English epic? Beowulf. Which dialect of Middle English was spoken in London? East Midland. What type of poem is the Pearl Dream Vision? What historical period followed the Middle Ages? The Renaissance. Who wrote Confessio Amantis? John Gower. Which language did John Gower write in, besides English, Latin and French? What is the form of the Canterbury Tales frame narrative? How many pilgrims are in the Canterbury Tales? 29. Who was Geoffrey Chaucer influenced by? Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio. What is the rhyme scheme used in the Canterbury Tales? Rhyming couplets. Which Chaucer tale is considered a mock heroic poem? The Nun's Priest's Tale. Who is the wife of Bath in the Canterbury Tales? A bold, independent woman who had 5 husbands. What is the Miller's Tale known for its bawdy humor? What is the theme of the Pardoner's Tale? Greed. Who built the first permanent theatre in England in 1576? James Burbage. What war was fought between the houses of Lancaster and York? The Wars of the Roses. Who won the Wars of the Roses? Henry Tudor. Henry VII. What year did the Wars of the Roses end? 1487. Which language began to dominate over French by the end of the 14th century? English. Who was known for writing religious plays in the Middle Ages? Mystery and morality play authors. What is a morality play? A play that teaches moral lessons. What is a mystery play? A religious play based on Bible stories. Which guilds performed mystery plays in the Middle Ages? Craft guilds. What was the main theme of morality plays? The struggle between good and evil. What is the most famous morality play from the Middle Ages? Everyman. What is the theme of Everyman? The inevitability of death and the importance of good deeds. Who is the protagonist of Everyman? Everyman. What genre is Everyman morality play? What type of story is Troilus and Cresside? A tragic love story. Who wrote Troilus and Cresside? Geoffrey Chaucer. Which Middle English poem is a source for Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida? Troilus and Cresside. Which work is an example of Middle English romance? Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. What is the genre of The House of Fame? Dream Vision. Who wrote The House of Fame? Geoffrey Chaucer. Who was the first English laureate poet? John Gower. What is the historical significance of the Norman Conquest? It led to the fusion of French and Old English, creating Middle English. What was the main influence on Middle English poetry? French literature. What event led to the decline of French influence in England? The 100 Years' War. Who is the main character in the morality play Everyman? Everyman. Which year marked the introduction of the printing press in England? 1476. What was the effect of the printing press on Middle English literature? Wider dissemination of texts. What type of poetry was common during the Middle English period? Lyric and religious poetry. What historical event ended the Middle Ages in England? The rise of the Tudor dynasty. Who was the first Tudor monarch? Henry VII. Who wrote the first English prose work? John Wycliffe translated the Bible. Which language dominated England before the Norman Conquest? Old English. Which literary form became popular during the Middle English period? Romance. What was the most popular genre of Middle English literature? Courtly romance. Who is the author of Morte d'Arthur? Sir Thomas Malory. What year was Morte d'Arthur published? 1485. Who printed Le Morte d'Arthur? William Caxton. Who wrote The Vision of Piers Plowman? William Langland. What is the literary form of The Owl and the Nightingale? Debate poem. Which tale is considered the most philosophical in the Canterbury Tales? The Knight's Tale. Who is known for writing devotional literature in the 14th century? Julian of Norwich. What major event in 1215 limited the power of English monarchs? The signing of the Magna Carta. Who was Chaucer's contemporary and friend? John Gower. What is the central theme of the Parliament of Fowls? Love and courtship. What dialect of Middle English became the basis of Standard English? East Midland. Who wrote the Book of the Duchess? Geoffrey Chaucer. What is the theme of The Wife of Bath's Tale? The nature of true gentility and women's sovereignty.